Hey guys, welcome back to today's reading. This one is all about something that's going to surprise you very soon. So we're going to see what's going to come as a bit of a surprise in your life, be pretty unexpected, and that is coming in for you very, very quickly. And today we have a selection of different paintings for you to choose from. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. And basically you're going to see which of these paintings is sticking out to you, calling your name, drawing your attention in towards it. And then as soon as you make up your mind, just scroll down to the timestamps in the comments, in the description, and jump right into your pile. By the way, I always recommend people choose their painting based on the energy that is calling out to them, drawing them in, magnetizing them, not necessarily the painting they find the prettiest or the one they would want to buy at an art gallery, but just the same way they would decide for any other pick a card reading. By the way, if you like how I read tarot and you want to see more of it, then be sure to head to my Patreon and check out all my additional readings over there. I just posted a reading all about what people fantasize about you, and before that, there was a reading about what people find you sexy. So two fun, spicy readings. There's also a deep spiritual reading all about what you're carrying with you from past lifetimes, but there are over 85 exclusive readings you'll only get access to when you sign up for Patreon. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos, so they always get posted over there way early. If all that sounds good to you and you're interested in signing up, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, whether you want a tarot reading, whether you want me to channel for you, whether you want me to do astrology for you, whether you want a half-hour reading, a full-hour reading, a pre-recorded reading, a live session. There's so many ways to customize your reading to make it the perfect one for you. If all that sounds good and you're interested in getting a session with me, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com. Link is in my description for that. So thanks for watching, guys. Now that's about all I have to say. If you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile one. Hey pile one, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. You guys got the Ace of Cups, the Hermit, the Moon, the Lady, aka the Empress, the Five of Wands. So right off the bat, we see the beautiful Ace of Cups coming in. This is such a positive card, and it can often mean a beautiful new connection. It can sometimes mean a pregnancy. For you guys, with this coming out right next to the Hermit, I'm feeling like a lot of your connections are about to go a lot deeper. And on some level, even though this is about your connection with another person, it's also about your connection with yourself or inner work or trauma work that you've been going through. So I feel like on some level, this is about like realizing different parts of yourself, realizing that you're capable of so much more and getting to that place through connection with others. It's almost like I'm seeing you broadening your horizons or realizing what you're capable of on some level that has to do with relationships or emotionally. Like it may have been that you would always tell yourself, oh, like, I'm kind of a loner. I don't really have any close friends. And then you meet a new friend and you realize like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love like calling this person at the end of every workday to debrief, or finding that in a romantic relationship, or realizing you get back in touch with like a family member that you were estranged from and realizing that you're capable of so much forgiveness and everything. It could also be something like if you've been in a relationship, it going long distance or something, and realizing your own emotional resilience, or not gonna lie, a breakup happens and then you're like, you know what, I thought I would be totally broken and I'm actually doing really good and I'm fine and I'm not so upset, and I thought I would be devastated if this happened, but actually I love my independence. I feel like there's something, first of all, it could be a new relationship coming in. I want to make that very clear. The Ace of Cups is often a brand new relationship. But again, then we have the Hermit, and I feel like for you, what this ultimately comes down to is a journey of self-discovery, and that journey that we are capable of so much more than we may realize. Sometimes we think that we have certain limitations, or sometimes we think, oh, I'm just this way, that's just who I am. And then someone comes into your life and kind of makes you realize you're capable of so much more. And I feel like for you, this is about, again, a journey that you get with yourself that comes from another person. So I think sometimes like love relationships can help us open up in this way. Maybe someone makes you realize you thought you were really serious, but you kind of find yourself being goofy around like your girlfriend or your boyfriend. or maybe we felt really closed off to the world, and then we kind of start seeing the world through that beautiful love rose-colored glasses where everything suddenly seems a lot nicer and sweeter. But I feel like for you, a lot of this is about kind of finding your own inner strength and kind of transforming your idea of who you are and what you are able to do. So I see this as being twofold, and I know it's kind of confusing. One, connecting with another person, possibly a new relationship, but two, also having this beautiful journey to the self and realizing that you are so much more smart, capable, and amazing than I think you really realized before. Let me pull some of these cards as well. We do have, by the way, the lady, and on this deck, she is depicted as pregnant, which she is depicted on a lot of tarot decks as pregnant, and this one as well. And so, again, could be a double pregnancy message for some of you guys. You might be surprised by a pregnancy. So if you are not planning on that, or it's not something you are actively working towards, maybe be a little extra careful. I feel like there's a message about you discovering your own resiliency. I'm hearing resilient. Like, I think sometimes what's coming around is like this idea that, you know, sometimes we get into so much of a routine, a schedule, we start depending on someone or something in our life. We start thinking that I need this. Like, we get into a relationship and then we're spending every night with a person and we start thinking, I need them. And the idea of them going away for like even a weekend sends us into a panic, and we start being like, oh my God, I don't want to sleep alone, whatever, you know. And this is like almost maybe you and them break up, it could even be temporary, but then you start realizing like, oh, I actually sleep really well on my own. It's kind of nice, no one's snoring next to me, you know. And maybe I don't need to cuddle before I go to sleep to feel relaxed, and maybe I can sleep perfectly fine on my own. And maybe, you know, in the opposite way, we get really set in a routine, we get really set in like our ways. Maybe we always go to bed alone, so we have like a 10-step skincare routine before bed, and we play like oral waves, and then we start to, you know, like we have a red light that we put on before sleep, and everything's very regimented, and it's not really open energetically to like another person coming in. And then maybe we get a partner and they're like, I don't really like the red light, and you know, I hate it when you have all that goop on your skin, so I can't cuddle you before we go to bed. And so we kind of might realize, you know, do I need this full 10-step routine? Sometimes we find things as like a crutch. Like we think, I need this to sleep. I can't sleep unless I have this. Or I need this as part of my day. It's just because we're like used to it. And I think that's the beautiful thing of life, is realizing there's so many different ways to live life. And all those things we kind of get so used to and we cling to and we find our safety in. Sometimes it's not as necessary as we thought. And actually, we have so much more freedom and we're fine on our own. So I don't know, that's kind of a vibe I'm getting for you guys. Let's get some more cards for you. Pile number 1. What is going to be surprising? Pile number 1. Okay, we got 2 cards: conscious steps, considered action, looking forward, and freedom, moving on, letting go. Yeah, and this is what's coming to my mind for like what I was saying about the freedom, because whenever, you know, people think of like an addiction, I always think it's funny, people think of an addiction as like it has to be alcohol or some illegal substance that, you know, you have to buy on like a street corner. But the reality is so many of us can get addicted in so many different ways. And I think what an addiction really comes down to is like a crutch. Like it's like, I don't want to deal with this pain, so I'm going to drink this whiskey. And of course, sometimes there's physical addictions that happen after long enough where like you will go into withdrawal if you don't have alcohol, if you're an alcoholic or something. So I don't want to negate that. But a lot of times how it starts is it's like, I don't want to feel this pain. I can't deal with this emotion. So let me flee this situation by taking a bunch of shots or going out. And even it could start as like, I'm just going to have a glass of wine. Or it doesn't even have to be, because we always think of addiction as like, oh, alcohol, or oh, you know, illegal substances. But it could be, you know, I'm going to go work out right now because I'm really stressed. So let me go walk for an hour on the treadmill. And then that becomes something we're almost addicted with. And at the end of every day, if we haven't walked on the treadmill, we're tweaking. Or, you know, I'm going to go shopping. Like you watch that on Hoarders. What starts as just this beautiful, like, oh, a lot of the things they have are really nice. And maybe they had a hobby of like, they'd go shopping or they'd go to the local Goodwill and find some things, and it's a nice idea, and then you see their house and it's so out of control. So even the most beautiful thing can become like this horrible presence in our life, this limiting factor, when we let it go out of control. And it actually can be something that we started to make ourselves feel better, and then we become addicted. It can happen with a person, it can happen to a thing, it can happen with anything. And I feel like for you guys, what's going to surprise you is, again, your own emotional resilience and your own emotional strength that you have, of not needing to be as tied to one thing, person, place, whatever. And maybe a switch up or a change in your life that's making you realize how powerful you are. Because I think that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a fear of pain. It's a fear that I can't tolerate that. It's a fear that, oh my God, if my boyfriend leaves me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I would freak out. So let me start an argument with him because I can't stand the idea of him leaving me. So let me try to break up with him or make him break up with me now, or I'm so upset right now. I don't want to process how upset I am about, this argument I got into with my mom. So I'm going to binge eat a giant bag of potato chips. Or I don't want to deal with this emotion, so I'm going to have a bottle of wine. It's all the same thing. Or I don't want to handle this feeling, so I'm going to go work out at the gym and go lift weights. And some could say, well, there's healthy versions of that, but I really don't think any of it is healthy, because what it is an avoidance of an emotion, and that can just snowball. And the more we try to resist an emotion, the more powerful it gets. I say this as like a Cancer moon, and I think we're really ruled by our emotions. And I always think it's funny because sometimes people will say, oh my God, I'm going crazy, it's Cancer season, or it's Pisces season, or it's Scorpio season. And it's like, to me, water is that emotion that so many people, like, they have it flowing through them, but it's only during those water seasons that it becomes overwhelming to them. Maybe if they have no water in their chart, they can pretend like, yeah, I don't feel anything. But it's almost like us water signs, we get a reputation for being crazy, and I'm not denying that. But some of it is just like, we're forced to confront our emotions. We can't run away from them because they're so omnipresent for us. They're so strong in us. They're so much more powerful in us that it's like, I can't just act like everything's cool because I'm just overwhelmed by that emotion. So in a way, it's a gift because I'm forced to deal with it. And I feel bad for people that maybe they have no water, so they can lie to themselves and say, no, I'm fine with that, even though they're not, and they're screaming inside. You know what I mean? And I feel like for you guys, this is just about learning. Like I said, I think the saddest thing that happens when someone's running, when they're addicted to food, addicted to alcohol, addicted to an illegal substance, and addicted to exercise, addicted to a person, whatever addiction, because there's so many different addictions. What it comes down to is a fear of their ability to handle it. Like, oh my God, I wouldn't be able to deal with this if this happened. I wouldn't be able to deal with this emotion. It's going to overwhelm me if I really take the time to process how upset I am about my relationship with my dad, or about, my emotion that I felt today because it was horrible and I felt so upset about something. So I'm just going to distract myself. And I think sometimes it's worth realizing, like, no, I am perfectly capable of dealing with this. I am powerful enough to deal with this. I don't have to have some kind of band-aid. I don't have to distract myself. I don't have to pretend. And it's so funny, as I'm talking about Cancer moon, I just was kind of like trancing out and like channeling, but I didn't even notice the moon card coming out right here. And of course, Cancer is in domicile in moon. The moon rules Cancer, so Cancer moons just are a bumped up moon energy. And yeah, moon is where we carry our emotions. So like I was saying, I really think what it comes down to is actually respecting those emotions, not trying to hide the emotions, not trying to push them down or push them away. Because it's like, you can see with water, the more you try to tamp it down, the more you try to, like, just squeeze some water inside a pipe that isn't well built, the more it's going to like explode. The more you see a rushing river and you try to like stand in the middle of it or divert it or whatever, water can be so out of control. And the more you kind of try to like shut it inside this tiny little room, the more it's going to burst that open. It's not going to just go away the way you want it to. It will leak out in some way. So yeah, I think for you guys, this is about surprising yourself with your own ability to manage those emotions, and that, like, pile one, you guys are so capable of handling whatever this is. You don't need to run. You don't need to try to stamp it down. You don't need to try to control it or run away from it or whatever. You have got this. You are so capable. And I think this is realizing your own power, or maybe having something that was very comforting to you in the past that you used to like maybe look to as like, okay, oh, I'll just do with this. Like, I mean, we all can fall into that routine where maybe what starts is like, okay, at the end of the workday, you know what? I really need a glass of wine today, and I'm gonna go stop by the store and I'm gonna get a brownie, and that's gonna be my end of the day. And of course, that's totally healthy and normal and fine, in moderation. But then maybe it turns into a habit, and then every day we're like, the next day we're like, yeah, that brownie and wine was really nice. Okay, I might get it again today. And then the next day, should I get my brownie and wine? And then next thing we know, it's like the one glass of wine isn't enough. Maybe the one brownie isn't enough. And maybe we're getting up to like drinking a bottle of wine after work, and we make a big batch of brownies at home instead of buying it at the store, and then we're eating a half a batch of brownies per day because now we don't have just one to eat. We can kind of keep nibbling on it throughout. And then next thing you know, you kind of spiraled into this like relatively unhealthy coping mechanism. And maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you're perfectly fine if you put the wine away, put the brownies away, and we're just like, okay, I had a horrible day at work, but you know what? Let me just face that head on and just process it and deal with it and distract myself or find something else fun to do. But maybe I don't need to like blot everything out with this wine. That would probably be healthier, and we'd actually be more confident because we'd be like, oh, I've got this. I can manage my life. I'm powerful. And I feel like in a way you're realizing your own power, pile number one. Let's get some more cards for you, pile one. What is going to surprise pile one in their near future? What's going to be happening for pile one? Archangel Phanuel, hope, optimism, new beginnings, beneath the surface, hidden truth, something unknown. Okay, and let's get one more card for you, pile one. Kinship, community, your group. Yeah, I definitely feel like connection is a huge thing that's happening for some of you guys. It could be like a new relationship, or a deepening relationship if you already have one, getting a lot deeper. I feel like in a way for some of you guys, this is about like opening up more or getting past a little bit of a shell. I feel like some of you guys have put up certain walls with people, or you have like, again, I think we tend to get rooted into these ideas of ourselves, into what we're comfortable with, into, that's just how I am. I'm a bad texter, or that's just how I am. Like, I don't get really close to anyone, or that's just how I am. I don't have any girlfriends. I never have. And it's like we tell ourselves these stories, but maybe you are perfectly capable of having close girlfriends. Maybe you are actually a good texter, and if you push yourself to do that and push yourself to kind of crack that wall open a little and crack that door open, maybe not crack the wall, that would be bad, right? For the structural stability of the building. But you could crack the door open and let someone in just a little bit, and maybe this idea we have, like, it's almost like that's what's coming to my mind with this iceberg, is you might look at that iceberg and say, oh yeah, it's about that size, but it's so much bigger. And sometimes we do that to ourselves too. We think like, oh, I'm not capable of that, or I'm this kind of person. I'm a math person. I'm not really creative. Like, I can never do art. Like, I'm just into math. And then actually you might have so much artistic ability inside of you, and if you gave art a shot, instead of just telling yourself like, no, I'm a math girl, no, my sister is the creative one, she's really good at painting, but I could never do that. Maybe you are perfectly capable of it, and maybe you can do both, and maybe you're good at math and you're good at art. You'll never really know until you give it a shot. Or maybe you say, oh, I'm just always going to be single, I'm super independent, I don't want a man, I don't want kids, I don't want whatever. But if you find yourself in that situation, you might be like, oh, this is really awesome. I love having kids. I love this guy, whatever. And so, of course, I would never tell someone to do something they're really uncomfortable with. But I just think sometimes like being more open to the world allows us to experience more possibilities anyway, because until you try it, you'll never know. I recently tried for the first time mango sticky rice, which I know it's like a really popular dessert, and so probably like everyone else has had it, and I totally get it. My defense being that I I'm always the type to order like the chocolate dessert. So if there's anything chocolate or like caramel or vanilla, I'm always like, of course I'm gonna get that. Like I don't need any fruit desserts unless it's a pie. I'm down with like apple pie, cherry pie, blueberry pie. But my rationale is like I would never order like a cherry sorbet or a mango ice cream or a anything like fruit. Because I'm like, okay, if we're doing dessert, we're going all the way. We're getting the chocolate, the caramel, the vanilla, and the peanut butter cups. And that, that's more my vibe. So finally, recently, someone was like, we were out to dinner and they're like, well, let's get the mango sticky rice. And I'd never had it. And so I'm like, they're like, it's so good. You have to have it. And I tried it and I was like, okay, like it'll be okay to me. Because I already know I'm not a fruit dessert person. I already know myself. And sure enough, I freaking loved it. And now I'm like addicted and have it like almost every day. And so, like, yeah, obviously, this idea I had in my mind, oh, I'm not a fruit dessert person. Oh, I'm just a chocolate girl. I stick to the classics. Like, that's okay. I'll just do the caramel. I'll just do the chocolate. Like, we don't need any fruit over here. That was completely wrong because I love mango sticky rice now. And even though that's a small, tiny, stupid example, obviously, I feel like it shows, again, it's one of those things we tell ourselves, I'm this kind of person. I ordered this. This is my favorite. And we might not have any idea. We might not really know whether we like that or not until we give it a shot. And maybe if we try it, it's like, oh, this is actually my favorite thing. So I feel like for you, this is almost discovering like new levels that you're capable of. And I'm hearing discovering how good life can be. Like discovering, maybe it's someone who falls in love for the first time and then they realize like, wow, this is so amazing. I didn't know I was capable of feeling this good. I didn't know I was capable of going to this place in a relationship. I feel like for you, some of you guys, it's about moving on and getting your trust back, like not staying stuck in some kind of energetic rut. Like it reminds me of that song by Taylor Swift, Right Where You Left Me, which is such a brilliant song. Like seriously, I think it has to be the most brilliant song she's written, and the lyrics are so amazing. And basically, to sum up, because it's kind of a poetic song, so I can't like directly quote it, I don't think, because it wouldn't make sense. But it's basically, this talking about, I think the lyrics are like, look, I'm still at the restaurant, sitting in a corner I haunt. And basically it's about a girl who gets broken up with on a date. And even 7 years later, she's still stuck at the restaurant. Obviously it's a metaphor for when you just can't move on from an old relationship or a situationship or something from your past. And there's some kind of a trauma that happens and you're just stuck there and you just feel stuck in that place. And like, even if life has moved on and everyone else seems to be, completely not thinking about it, your mind is still stuck in that place. And I really think, it's a great depiction of how trauma works and how trauma can keep us like stuck in place, stuck in time. And I feel like for you guys, it's realizing that you can transmute it, that you are more powerful. If you have had some deep trauma happen to you, I think the good news is, as someone who does psychic readings, is that even the deepest traumas often get completely erased. I mean, and I shouldn't say often, in every experience, from what I've seen, it's like when you pass over onto the other side, the slate gets wiped clean. A good metaphor for this would be my own grandfather, who like was really kind of a jokester when I was growing up. I didn't even know he's a Pisces. So it's so funny. Now I finally was like, oh, let me look back and see like his placements. And I was like, oh my God, he's a Pisces like me. It makes so much sense with his energy, because he was kind of a jokester, kind of that funny Jupiter energy growing up. And then basically he got into an accident, just fell down a flight of stairs, but broke his hip when he was like 80, 85. And so he was always different after. Like he sometimes had to use a wheelchair. He learned to walk again, but it was just never really the same. It was kind of this shadow of himself. He was this big, strong, tall, powerful guy, and now he's in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? So it was never like the full version of him. And then when he passed, I felt his presence enter my kitchen that I was in, and I could feel this beautiful, happy, joyful energy. And I remember being like surprised by it. And this was before I'd ever done like psychic work, but it was a really cool experience because I just knew he was in the kitchen with me and I could feel this beautiful joy. And it reminded me of a version of him that I had known when I was a kid, but I had forgotten about. Like I had known him this way as being super joyful, happy, and kind of like silly. But the version of him that I knew more as an adult was obviously, or more as, yeah, like a teen and an adult, was, you know, a lot more serious. And even he was serious sometimes when I was a kid. He wasn't like full silly mode all the time, like, but this energy was just so joyful. And it was almost like his personality, this kernel of his personality, but magnetized and or magnified. And now that I do work and actually do mediumship readings, I can say that that is so common because it's almost like someone who your personality on the other side just gets so blown up. And I think what it is because it's those traumas that get erased. It's the, you know, the mean school teacher you had in second grade who would always tell you to be quiet and you're talking too much, so then you turn into a really quiet person. That gets erased. Or the heartbreak you had at like 32 that really afterwards you couldn't fully like heal or move on from it. So you kind of become this pessimistic person. That gets erased. The, you know, really traumatic car accident you got into, that gets erased, and you just become whatever seed of your personality. So if you were really quiet and that's genuinely how you work, you may stay quiet on the other side, or you may, if you were quiet because of trauma, then you're going to go back to being loud and gregarious. And what's the point of all that? My point is that your soul is untouchable. Whatever trauma may have happened to you is not something you have to live with, even if it's the worst trauma, even if it's the most horrible thing. And I know it's easier said than done, but truly it's not who you are. It shouldn't define you. And you can find, you are entitled to have just as much of a joyful, happy, beautiful, positive life as anyone. So sometimes it's just about realizing, again, our own capability and that it was there all along, that we never really lost anything. Because I think sometimes with traumatic events, we think, oh, something was taken from me. I lost something, I lost myself. And that almost becomes even more traumatizing, more upsetting, like this idea that I'm this different person, this changed me. That can be really depressing to even sit with. And what's cool is realizing you have your power back, and actually that trauma doesn't have to define you. You define you. You can be whatever you want to be, and you can tap into the same beautiful, happy, highest vibrational energy of your soul at any freaking time. And part of life is discovering the beauty in that. Part of life is discovering all those things that make us feel happy, high vibrational, that make us shine, that make us smile, that make us excited about things, you know? So yeah, I feel like for you guys, this is about finding your joy. This is about finding maybe connections and relationships that make you feel really high vibrational, really excited about things, really positive, really understood on a very deep level. Yeah, let me get some more tarot for you. Pile number one. What surprises are coming pile number one's way? So we got the 10 of Wands, the 5 of Swords, okay. The 5 of Wands again. The High Priestess. The Empress again, okay, and this is the Wheel of Fortune, okay. Let me get 2 more actually, just to even it out. This one is the Ace of Swords, reverse, and then the Queen of Cups. Okay, beautiful. So yeah, it's interesting we got a lot of the 5 of Swords. We got the 5 of Swords and then 2 5 of Wands. The 5 of Wands is an interesting card. All the 5s can sometimes be negative. But what I'm getting with the 5 of Wands, again, is that courage to really engage in life and that courage to be brave and to really like be alive, you know, because the 5 of Swords shows people fighting, but they could be play fighting. They could be kind of like tussling with each other. And it's almost like having that bravery to get out there, having that bravery to try again or to risk something or to put ourselves in a situation that maybe in the past might have scared us. Even having the courage or the bravery to lose with that 5 of Swords as well. It can also talk about a surprise in your future, maybe like a what word am I even thinking about? I don't even know. I just blanked. I literally cannot think of the word, but like a time with a lot of conflict, a time with a lot of arguments, or a slightly combative time where maybe there's a little bit of back and forth. And so it may also be a sign to kind of watch how you speak or watch how you engage with people. But I really am getting for you guys most of the time, this is going to be a really positive change about finding your own independence, finding out who you really are, and learning to step into almost like this trust in the universe, this trust in yourself, and this inner power, and this inner optimism, and this inner intuition as well. Like, I think again, that's one of the things that we lose through trauma. And I'm hearing that song Lost in the Fire by The Weeknd and Geffelstein. I hope I'm saying that right. Gistolfelstein. Anyway, I don't know. I'm butchering that name, I'm sure. But about how, sometimes we lose things in the past. We kind of like let go of it. And I feel like for you, this is about getting back that optimism, getting back that trust, getting back that intuition and that trust in ourselves. That's the thing we lose a lot of times in trauma, is like, how could I let that happen? Or how could this happen to me? I'm such an idiot. And we kind of stop listening to our own inner voice because we think, oh, like my inner voice was wrong. But maybe the inner voice was right the whole time. We were listening or paying attention to something else. Maybe we weren't listening to that inner voice. And either way, I feel like what you're getting back again is that trust, is that faith in the universe, that faith that everything is going to turn out okay, and maybe being amazed at how great things start working out for you. So yeah, that is what I have for you, pile number 1. I really hope that resonates. I would love to hear from you for how it resonates with you. If you feel like letting me know, I always appreciate it. Also, make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. That really helps the channel. If you want to see more of my content, head on over to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about what people fantasize about you, and before that, all about what makes you sexy. There's also a deep spiritual reading about what you're carrying with you from past lifetimes, and lots and lots of readings, over 85 exclusive readings, and you get love readings, career readings, money readings, spirituality readings, future life, past life. There's lots of different topics to choose from. So if you are interested in signing up, then head on over to my Patreon, and the link for that is down underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And I think I mentioned, but you get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos, so they always get posted over there first. So yeah, link for Patreon is down in the comments, and I hope to see you there. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. If you want a half-hour reading, full hour-long reading, whether you want me to pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, whether you want me to do a live session or a pre-recorded reading, you get to really customize your reading so it's right for you and get exactly the kind of session you want. If you're interested in booking that with me, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and book a slot with me. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile 2, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. You guys got the Princess of Cups, the Four of Cups, the Six of Pentacles, the Nine of Cups, and the Death card. So the first card that we got is the Princess of Cups, aka the Page of Cups. It's traditionally depicted as the Page of Cups. On this, it's gendered as the Princess of Cups. But yeah, this is an incredibly creative and also psychic energy. And we have all the cups. You guys got so many cup cards. And what I'm feeling really come through strongly is this may be about refining your psychic abilities and getting much more intuitive than you are. It could also be getting more gifted at some kind of a new creative endeavor. The Page is a younger energy, so it's often maybe someone that's a bit of a beginner at something, or they just are coming in with a lot of enthusiasm and maybe trying it for the first time. What I'm hearing is a lot of you guys are about to get some very intense psychic downloads. There's so much water throughout this reading from the Cups cards, and then we have this Death card, which relates with Scorpio. So there's a really heavy energy around you getting some psychic visions and intuitions. And I'm hearing you guys are going to have very prophetic dreams. And you're going to start being really encouraged to trust your own intuitions. Because what I'm hearing is a lot of you guys already know you're psychic. Maybe as I'm telling you this, you're like, yeah. I mean, of course, I've heard that. I know that. I am psychic. But it's almost like you're not fully trusting or fully going ahead with it. It's like you have some kind of resistance, or it's almost like you're waiting for some moment of like proof, like you're waiting for some random thing to happen to give you that stamp of approval. And I feel like what you need to hear is like there is no governing board that's going to tell you when it's time for you to trust your intuition, or that you're very psychic and yes, you're picking up on it correctly. And so you're going to have to be the one to go ahead with that and just completely trust that ability and listen to what Spirit is trying to tell you. What Spirit is bringing up to me is someone in my life who has like Neptune conjunct their sun, and they're so psychic, and I'm always pushing this person to trust their intuition more and to listen to those visions. And it's so funny to me how someone who might have such a psychic placement like Neptune conjunct the freaking sun, where they might still be like, oh no, like I can't do that. And if I'm like, well, what do you think? Like, and this is why with this person who's very skeptical, I'll always ask them like, well, what's your intuition about this? Well, I just mentioned my friend. What do you think that friend might be like? And hearing what they have to say, hearing their visions or their insights, and it's almost always dead on. This person can also like randomly predict the weather and be like, oh, I think it might rain in like an hour, and then it starts raining in 50 minutes. You know what I mean? And I always think that's so funny. Someone might have all the gifts, they might have all the intuition, maybe all the astrology is there as well, and they have something crazy like Pluto conjunct their moon, and yet they will still question and doubt and tell themselves, oh, it's just a random coincidence, or like, yeah, I mean, sometimes I guess I have intuitions about things, or sometimes I just make a lucky guess. But it's like they have all this doubt and they really aren't willing to like label it as psychic work, psychic intuition. And I feel like for you guys, again, you are really being called to give it your all and fully listen and stop doubting or second guessing, but to really value these intuitive abilities that Spirit has given you. And I feel like Spirit is going to make that more and more clear for you. And sometimes I find that when we're not really leaning into a gift, or when we're kind of resisting fully stepping into our power, that's when Spirit starts ripping away those band-aids. It's almost like how, once you realize that your child is capable of riding a bike on its own, on their own, on its own, you may take off those training wheels, and whether they want it or not, or maybe they've been riding a tricycle and you're like, okay, it's time to go on the two-wheel bike and it's time for you to actually do this. And maybe they're scared, maybe they're hesitant, and that's when you might kind of push them into it more. And I feel like for you guys, this could definitely be about pushing you more into using your psychic abilities. This could be about making sure that you are not questioning yourself and you're not allowing yourself to kind of waffle about things. Part of this in general is I feel like you guys need to step into your confidence more and kind of own and accept who you are, because there is this energy that some of you guys, even though you're so talented and you have so many gifts, there's a part of you that kind of stays on the periphery or doesn't want to fully claim it, doesn't maybe want that attention or that spotlight on you, or maybe you kind of feel comfortable like in the shadows a little bit more. But I feel like for you, you're really being called to fully harness your gifts and fully lean into this. This doesn't even necessarily have to be psychic abilities. I'm getting that for a lot of you guys, but it could also be if you have a hobby, especially any kind of creative hobby. Again, the cups really are very creative energies. If you have any kind of creative hobby, there may be something that you have been kind of nudged along that like, oh, you should do more of this, but there's a part of you that really holds yourself back, and there's a part of you that kind of like is just kind of sitting on the sidelines, not wanting to step into that center stage energy. And I really feel like more and more you are going to be pushed and called to take on that mantle and to let people really see you and to start embracing your power instead of keeping it at a distance. What's interesting as well is we have the Four of Cups and the Six of Pentacles, and those are both cards that talk about a blessing coming out of nowhere. So, I mean, perfect topic for what we're doing today, the the surprise focus of this energy, those are both very surprised cards. The Four of Cups is a gift that just comes from spirit, and the Six of Pentacles can be a random gift or a random blessing, like a new client or a random influx of money. So both of them are very positive in my opinion. The Four of Cups can sometimes be unaware of exactly the level of gift that's being given to them. And again, I think that's where for you guys, I really want you to pay attention, because it's almost like Spirit is saying, you're so gifted, you're so talented in some arena. So why are you afraid to embrace it? Why are you sitting on the sidelines and not fully leaning into this? Because I almost feel like it's funny to me, this person in my life who has Neptune conjunct the sun, because I'm always like, why don't you embrace this? Why don't you lean into this? Like, so many people would love to have this placement, kill to have this placement, and meanwhile, you just don't really take it seriously and you think it's kind of a joke. And honestly, I feel like that's the case for so many people though, who are talented in a certain arena. Like, they're almost more critical of themselves, or they might be like, yeah, I can do that, but like everyone can. And it's like, no, not everyone can. And that's what you're not even appreciating, and it's not clicking, because to you, this is normal. This is easy. This is what you've always done, and it's second nature to you. But to so many people, they wish they had that gift and that ability. And I think that's one of the saddest things, is when you see people like wasting their talents and not actually using them, because in their mind, yeah, of course I can do like quantum physics, and yeah, of course I'm amazingly good at soccer and I can kick a ball from like 2 soccer fields away into the net. And to them, that's just like, yeah, like it's easy, everyone can do that. And then you kind of have to, you want to shake them and tell them like, no, not everyone can do this. And I think for you guys, this is about maybe even taking like a talent you have and turning it into a career, finding a way to monetize it, or just leveling up with it, like really taking it serious, really using it, so that you're not just like wasting your time. You're not that you're wasting your time if you haven't like monetized something, but I feel like it's like taking it more serious than you have been, actually leaning full force into it, rather than just taking it as like a fun, silly hobby, or yeah, whatever. This is like kind of how I'm going to spend my time, but I don't really care that much. I feel like this is about really stepping into a more serious energy and giving it your all. I'm also hearing for some of you guys, this could be someone contacting you that you really haven't heard from in a long time. So it could be like starting back up with a connection where it's been a while. I also am getting for you guys the energy of just getting a lot more confidence and kind of realizing your potential in a way, again, that you haven't before, like just with how you carry yourself, not even connected necessarily to a specific hobby, but more along the lines of in general, like walking outside and holding your head high and just knowing that you're like that girl, or, you know, putting together outfits that make you feel really good. I feel like this is really about an energy of you stepping into your power in a way that you haven't before, and kind of being surprised also by the reactions of others, because I am feeling like a lot of people are going to be drawn to you at this time as well. A lot of people are going to want to talk to you. A lot of people are going to be curious about you, paying attention to you in a way that it feels like it hasn't happened before. Also, with that Death card coming in, this could be changing up your personal style or your persona in some way and really altering how you present to the world. This could especially affect people depending on like their Pluto placements, like if you have Pluto in the early degrees of the fixed signs. So if you have Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, then you could definitely be affected, because right now Pluto is transiting back right into Capricorn and then reverting back into Pluto, and they're really highlighting, or Aquarius, and they're really highlighting that Pluto and Aquarius placement for me. So yeah, if you guys have placements at the ending degrees of Capricorn, like the end degree of Capricorn, or in the end degree of the cardinal signs, or in the very early degrees of the fixed signs, you could be affected by this. But I do feel like for you guys, this is like deciding you want to wear something differently, especially those fixed signs, because they're beginning that Pluto journey, whereas Pluto is really ending its time in Capricorn. So especially if you have placements that are early degrees of fixed signs, you might find yourself deciding that I really want to alter how I dress, how I present, or I used to dress in a certain way, and you know what, it's just not hitting the same way, it's just not doing it for me. I feel like this is about almost like embracing something that you've wanted to do for a really long time, something that maybe has already been calling to you, you've already been feeling like this urge or this draw or this magnetism towards it, but there's almost been this fear to embrace it. And again, some of this is a fear of being seen, some of this is actually a fear of your own power and feeling like you kind of have to keep yourself small to have other people approve of you. And I feel like that need for approval is just heading out the window. Like, we're not doing that anymore, that's over, that's done, that's canceled. So right now I feel like a lot of you guys are kind of realizing your own potential, realizing your own power, and realizing, I think, how much you've maybe held yourself back in order to make other people comfortable, or in order to not get too much attention on you. And I really see that starting to change. Like, I feel like for you, this is really about fighting through almost like this unconscious desire to be anonymous, to be hidden, to be private. And I feel like you're starting to realize that what you have is so powerful and so special, and it needs to be shared with the world. And you need to kind of buckle down and find some focus in order to actually do that, and in order to lean into this. But it could be an increase when it comes to your money situation or your career as well, with the Six of Pentacles. Let me get some of these cards for you. Pile number 2. We want to see what pile number 2 is going to be surprised by in the near future. So we got achievement, completion, reward, thought vibrations, resonant choices, signature signals, emotional desert, inactivity, isolation, teacher, learning, new path. And let's get one final card. Okay, 2. We got attachment, longing, desperation, and soulful appreciation, heartfelt gratitude. I'm just going to stick that there. What I'm also hearing, this is an interesting message, but for some of you guys, this is processing that someone didn't actually treat you that well. I almost feel like this could come in the form of someone that you felt very connected to in the past. And it's almost like that realization that, like, oh, they didn't actually treat me that well. Like, you know how sometimes someone will say, you know, I met up with an old crush and I really thought we were always going to end up together, but when I met up with them, like, they were such a jerk to me. And I realized that when I was like, you know, 21, and I thought they were like the bad boy, and that it was really cool how they wouldn't like pick up their phone and they wouldn't text me back. I thought that was so awesome. And now that I'm 40 and I met up with them and I just see them in the bar and I realize that they're just not that cute, that they're kind of a jerk, that they're mostly just selfish. And it's like that realization that maybe you had your rose-colored glasses on. Maybe you were looking at things through this kind of like dreamy Piscean haze, and you were giving someone a lot more credit than they actually deserve, and that some of the magic actually came from you and your idea of them rather than how they actually are. And the comforting thing about that is realizing then, if that's the case, and that the magic you perceived in them actually came from you, then the cool thing is you can conjure up that magic anytime you want, because then you have that magic inside of you. And I feel like for you guys, this is you realizing as well that you have done things to make someone else comfortable when that person actually doesn't have that much regard for you. Because most of the time when you really love someone, you want to see them thrive, you want to see them succeed, do well. If they call you and say, you know, hey, I got this big promotion at work, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. That's freaking awesome. You're going to cheer them on. You're going to want to see them do well. And if you really do love them and you still want to see them fail, then you are operating out of such a scarcity mindset, such a kind of low vibrational place that you're probably not even ready for a relationship. So I feel like for you, this is unpacking ideas of certain people in your life that it feels like they have needed you to fit a certain paradigm or a certain narrative in order to make them feel comfortable. Like, I could even see this being like a child of narcissistic parents, where the parents always need to be the center of attention, or the parents always need the daughter to not be doing as well as them, or the parents always need the son to be the shining star, so he needs to like impress the world so they can get that clout from him. You know, whatever it is, it feels like someone has maybe used you or has wanted to keep you in certain roles so that you could reflect back on them in some way, whether it was to keep you small so they looked bigger in comparison, or whether it was to make you big so they looked big also. It all came back to like this very selfish energy for them and needing you to conform to what they wanted. And I really feel like you are starting to step out of this and kind of realize your own potential, and maybe realize that this person was so drawn to you because they saw how special you were and because they saw all your amazing power that you give off. And I feel like this is kind of taking back your energy and starting to apply it for you and for what you want, and actually even taking the time out to think of that, like, what do I want, instead of what does someone else want, what will make them comfortable, what will they like, what do I want. And I feel like that's something you haven't even like asked yourself. Like, a lot of you guys in this pile, you have maybe done certain things, accomplished certain things, but some of that didn't even come from inside of you and from like a genuine desire. It came from a place of trying to make someone else comfortable, trying to appease someone, trying to make them happy, instead of really following your heart and doing what's going to genuinely make you feel amazing and make you succeed. And I really feel like for you guys, this is again about taking your power back. This is about realizing your potential and what you want in your life and really considering that, and maybe experiencing some kind of huge accomplishment or reward or milestone that makes you realize how powerful you truly are and that you are on the right track. I feel like for some of you guys, it's like your spirit guides and your angels, your ancestors, they are ready to like reward you. They are ready to see you do well, because it's almost like you have been working so long or doing these things to make someone else happy, and they are like, oh my gosh, it's about dang time you focused on yourself. So yeah, I could see this being a totally new endeavor when it comes to your career, totally different career path, a total pivot in your life or your lifestyle, or again, trying some new like creative pursuit or hobby of some kind. I feel like though, what's really different this time is like you're going to be giving it your all, and you're also going to be so much more excited about this. Like, now it's coming from that very genuine place of, I love doing this, not I need to make this other person happy, or I hope they approve of me, or I hope I get some kind of validation from others. This is now about you and your energy and genuinely what's going to put a smile on your face. This is kind of about taking your power back to a certain extent. And maybe you have overgiven in certain relationships, or you prioritize others over you. And this is more about finding your own internal happiness. So let me get into some more tarot cards for pile number 2. So we want to get tarot for pile 2 and what they're going to be surprised by soon. So we got the King of Pentacles reversed, the Lovers, the Six of Wands, the Queen of Wands. Yeah, a lot of this is about your trauma with not wanting to be seen, pile number 2. Not wanting, it's almost like you're afraid deep down of some kind of success. You're afraid of what would happen if you really did succeed. And you kind of keep yourself, like I said, in the shadows instead of being in the spotlight. The King of Cups, and let me get one more for you. This one is the High Priestess. Yes, I love that for you guys. Definitely picking up on that High Priestess energy, because some of this is just about you using your own intuition and really trusting it for the first time, because I feel like there's things that I'm hearing about how you've known maybe about this person being shady for a really long time, or you have known certain things and known you had to make certain changes, but there was that part of you that also was was like constantly doubting, constantly questioning, constantly feeling like, oh, I can't do that, or that would be too chaotic, or if I just do that, like someone will get mad at me. I really feel like this is almost like taking your energy back into yourself and realizing that it's time for you to be a little bit selfish. I think this is really about asking yourself really what you want to do and actually listening for the first time. Because sometimes, again, we get the download, we hear we hear the message, but we kind of don't want to do it. We don't want to rock the boat. We know what that might mean maybe for other relationships in our life, or other people getting mad at us, or people feeling competitive with us. So we kind of like ignore the message and just stay away. And I really feel like with the Queen of Wands coming out, the King of Cups, this is about really asking yourself what you want to do in your life and thinking about that very rationally. Sometimes it's interesting, this King of Pentacles is reversed, because sometimes we can get very in that pentacle energy of like, I have to do this. I committed to it. It is what it is. I'm just going to do it even though I'm miserable. And we kind of ignore our emotions. And the Wands and the Cups are probably the most emotional of the different elements. And so both of them are highlighted here. We have the King of Cups and we have the Queen of Wands, and both of them are not going to do things they don't want to do. Both of them are going to ask themselves, how do I feel about this? And I almost feel like for you, that's about giving yourself that permission to ask that question. How does this make me feel? Do I actually enjoy it? Does it make me happy? And if it doesn't, how could I switch or adjust or do something different so that I'm feeling really activated and aligned with it? With the High Priestess as well, it may be about using your intuition and really paying attention to what your heart is telling you and what your gut is telling you. I feel like for you, this is almost the energy of, like I said, being a little bit selfish and kind of like blotting out maybe this feeling of, I have to do this for others, or others want this of me, or this idea of kind of like what you owe to people, and instead taking it back to, I just want to do this because it's fun. Also, we got the Temperance card. So this could be about picking up something that like you gave up a long time ago. Maybe there was another version of you that loved a certain activity, whether it was going out with friends, having fun, whether it was doing art, whether it was reading, almost like you sacrificed this for some kind of a greater whole. So maybe you were a part of a relationship and your partner hated it when you went out with your friends, or maybe you know, were in a relationship and you used to read every night for like an hour, but of course your partner would be bored, so you'd end up just talking with them, and then you guys start watching movies together at the end of the night, and just naturally you stopped reading. And now this is about like getting back to those books and really finding and discovering that part of yourself. I feel like this is about that rediscovery of, I really want this, or I used to be this way, and allowing yourself to really celebrate that and have joy for it. Yeah, this could also be, like I said, a new client, a new hobby, a new business. I really feel like for you guys, this could be about professional success and allowing yourself to actually be seen, allowing yourself to actually be celebrated, and for other people to see what you're doing, because there's also this energy around you, pile number 2, where a lot of you guys, I feel, have reached some level of professional success, but it's almost like you're hiding away, or you don't want people to fully see you. And I feel like part of this is about being brave enough to kind of be honest. Part of it is being brave enough to like let people know what's actually going on with you. Maybe you've accomplished something in a certain arena, but like you would never tell anyone, and you would be like, oh no, I don't do anything like that. I'm not like really, I don't have a huge Twitter account that like goes viral because my jokes are so funny. I don't have a TikTok that's like constantly getting a million views because I'm like hilarious on there. So maybe you kind of like hide that and like don't tell anyone about it, and you kind of like keep it on the DL, but it makes you really proud. And I feel like this is almost about like starting to care less about what other people think and starting to just own that this is who you are, and that you have this gift and you have this talent. And so why am I hiding it? Why am I being weird about it? Why don't I just embrace it full force and like own that this is what I want? And what I'm hearing is this can also help you reach certain other manifestations or goals that you've been trying to reach. Like if you've wanted to grow your TikTok even more, if you've wanted to grow your Twitter account, back to these, you know, metaphors or examples I was giving earlier, whatever it is, maybe you self-publish books on Amazon and you really wanted to sell more books, but there's a part of you that's still resistant. And I feel like for you, celebrating what you've already accomplished and kind of getting over that hurdle of feeling weird about it, feeling conflicted, not being sure if you fully want it, letting go of that is actually going to help you accomplish your future goals and accomplish things that maybe you really wanted, but you were afraid to embrace or you were afraid to kind of fully claim. So yeah, some of this is going to be blessings around your financial success, your career success, and kind of releasing this energy of keeping yourself small or keeping yourself not as big as you could be so that others can be comfortable. This is really letting that go and fully stepping into your power. Pile number 2. I feel like it's like you're starting to get to the point where if someone isn't aligned with celebrating you, if they're not aligned with wanting the best for you, you're ready to release them and let them go. And actually, I think this is such a positive thing because some of you guys have been surrounded by like haters in disguise that probably would have never told you that they were a hater and may have really acted like they did support you. But there was a part of them that did want to see you small. They did want to keep you small and not see you fully glow up into your power. And I feel like you are finally ready to just release that and let that go. So yeah, that is what I have for you. Pile number 2. I really hope it resonates. If it does, let me know down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, so I would love to know what you think. Also, make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. That really helps the channel. And if you want to see more of my content, then head on over to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading all about what people fantasize about you, and before that, all about what makes you sexy. So 2 fun, spicy, exciting readings. And then I also posted a deep spiritual reading all about what you're carrying with you from past lifetimes. There are over 85 exclusive readings you'll only get access to when you sign up for Patreon, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So if you're interested in signing up, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, whether you want a half-hour session or a full hour-long session, whether you want me to pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, do a combination of all 3, whether you want it to be pre-recorded or live. There's so many ways to customize your reading to make it the perfect reading for you and exactly what you want. If you're interested in that, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile 3, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. So you guys got the Lady, aka the Empress. Then we have the Princess of Pentacles, aka the Page of Pentacles, the 5 of Swords, the Prince of Wands, aka the Knight of Wands, and finally the King of Cups. So a lot of suit cards that we have. And I feel like the first thing I'm getting coming through really strong is you guys are going to be surprised by your own resilience and your own ability to like stand up for what you want and ask for what you want. It feels to me like there was a time when you guys would really compromise your own desires and what you wanted in order to make other people comfortable. And I feel like that era is really ending. And some of this is learning how to handle conflict in like a healthy way and learning that conflict isn't a bad thing, or you don't have to do what everyone else wants in order to make them happy. Some of this is learning to really look after yourself, maybe even finding like your own personal sense of style, or finding and discovering something about you that I feel like is very independent of what exists for other people or what their reaction to that might be. Almost like, yeah, I just love the color orange, and I decided I'm just happier when I have something orange on me, and I don't really care how this person feels about it or what they have to say, whether they like it or not. If they like it, awesome. If they don't like it, okay. But finding some kind of confidence in yourself and an ability to navigate those disagreements, or an ability that if someone does say to you, you know, I really don't like this, that you can also listen to that and receive it, but also still remain true to yourself. This could even be within a relationship of some kind, learning again to manage that conflict, learning how to have those disagreements and have them ending up in like a productive discussion instead of having to be like an all-out fight and, you know, people calling each other names and getting really upset. Almost like, yeah, I don't think we need to like take it there, but at the same time, I'm going to still stand up for myself. I still know what I want, and I'm going to believe in that strongly. I'm going to seek out almost like your own identity. Like sometimes I think when we're in any kind of relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, or anything that involves anyone else, we can sometimes have that urge to like sacrifice what we want and really bend and twist ourselves to the other person's, their desires, what works for their schedule, their goals in the relationship or their goals in life. And especially we can find ourselves kind of like stepping back from our desires. I think a lot of women do this especially, and almost like finding that energy of hobbies that make you happy or other things that fill your emotional cup. Especially if there's been someone that you've maybe been worrying or thinking about a lot. Maybe finding like other things to like distract yourself with, because I think sometimes like if someone has a lot of limerence or they're focused a lot on someone from the past, a good thing to ask yourself is like, well, how is my life? How much happiness do I have in my life? How many things do I have to look forward to? If I'm obsessing over my ex-boyfriend, when's the last time I went out for a night out with my friends? You know, did I actually do that? Do I have a hobby that's fulfilling me? Do I have multiple things going on in my life that are filling up that emotional cup? And I feel like for you, you might be asking yourself those questions, like maybe in the context of a relationship, you found yourself doing too much for it, or maybe working too much and not giving any space to your relationships in your life. I love how much balance we have because we have so many suit cards. We have the pentacles, we have the wands, we have the cups. And I really think that's the key to like a well-balanced life, is kind of managing all those areas. Maybe having an intellectual hobby, that's our sword energy. Maybe having some work that we love doing and we really enjoy, that's pentacles energy. Maybe having a relationship that matters a lot to us, cups energy. Maybe having something that we just do that's kind of fun and exciting and a little bit selfish, that's just for us, and that's wand energy. But all those things, when they're balanced, is what really makes a life worth living. If we have too much of any of that energy, then, you know, maybe there's not as much fulfillment. So I feel like for you guys, this is really about figuring out something that is going to allow you to have more of that balance, and stepping away from an energy when you used to sacrifice or be too extreme into one area in particular. I feel like there's almost times when you guys have hyper focused, or again have sacrificed what you want to make someone else feel comfortable. And I really feel like for you, this is about kind of knowing yourself as well and putting up boundaries even with yourself. Because I think sometimes we have boundaries and we're the ones breaking them, you know, like maybe we have a friend who's like, hey, we should do something on Tuesday night. And even though we never finalize plans with them, like someone else asked to hang out on Tuesday, or we, you know, maybe we could work a little bit later at the office and we probably would have finished up this project, but we rush out of the office at 5:30 being like, oh, I think we're going to meet up tonight. And then they never text us and they weren't even taking it that serious. And it was totally on us, where we didn't text them to shore up like, so are we hanging tonight, or what did you want to do? But we just automatically kind of like canceled out our plans, our desires, our interests in order to make that other person happy or make them comfortable, you know? Definitely, I think a lot of women do that in the context of a relationship, kind of stepping away from what fulfills them in order to make the relationship more balanced, or make it feel more balanced, I guess, make the other person happy. And I feel like for you, this is really about taking that power back a little bit and realizing that you're probably the best version of yourself anyway, when you're glowed up, when you're feeling so fulfilled in a lot of different areas, instead of hyper fixating or focusing on one thing in particular. So yeah, this is kind of to me about an overall fulfillment that you're stepping into. I also feel like for you guys, this could be an energy of traveling or maybe moving as coming as a bit of a surprise. Not for everyone, but I feel like there's also some kind of a message or a clarity you're going to get when it comes to your living situation, of how you want to be living or what makes you happy. You know, I think sometimes also it's just having that mental clarity of knowing like, oh, I love living in apartments and I love having a high rise. I love having a really nice view where I can see out over whatever the city, whatever. Or I really love living in a house and I love being in the suburbs and I don't care about a view. Or I love having a really big space, so I'm willing to live out in a more suburban area away from the city center in order to get more space, because that's super important. Or all I care about is being in the city center and being close to everything, so I don't care if this is a tiny little a 400 square foot apartment, whatever, it's cool with me. Either way, I feel like sometimes we have to get that clarity for ourselves and really ask what we want. But I am seeing for some of you guys traveling or getting some kind of clarity about how you want to be living. I'm also seeing for some of you guys a pivot when it comes to like maybe career, or when it comes to maybe what you've been doing, or changing something a little bit about how you've been going about it. Like, I think instead of, sometimes we just follow a certain road and it feels like there's almost like a stagnancy around you, like a feeling of a lack of something. I feel like for some of you guys, this is like a fear of advocating. Sometimes I think we even avoid conflict because of that, because we're afraid, what is this person going to say? How are they going to react? Are they going to be okay with this? Are they going to get mad at me? So let me just kind of like shut my own feelings down and pretend like I'm okay with it, even though it's eating me up inside. I really feel like for you guys, this is about, again, learning to have healthy conflict, learning to voice what you want, whether it's to do with relationships, whether it's to do with career. Sometimes we, like I said, we just get into an energetic rut. We just start, pulling really late shifts at the office, and we just know that the boss expects that of us. We get kind of like tired and burnt out, but we continue doing what we're doing. We don't really learn how to speak up and say something and say no, or say, I'm getting a little tired with this, and like, maybe you could ask Brandon to cover my shift today, or whatever. So we end up just kind of staying stuck in this energy and kind of like tied to that, even if it's not really making us happy, even if we know we have to make a change. And when I see energies like the Prince of Wands, aka the Knight of Wands, or the King of Cups, the Princess of Pentacles, aka the Page of Pentacles, I just feel like this is more about you getting firm, and like I said, getting some boundaries up, learning to navigate those conversations, learning that you can ask for what you want, and you really have every right to do that. It's not out of pocket to ask for like more time for yourself, or to say no. And I feel like you're learning more balance with that. You're learning to fill your own cup and someone else's, instead of burning yourself out to make someone else happy. The Empress is kind of a not self-focused energy. I mean, she's very giving, she's very loving. She's depicted in this deck as pregnant, and in a lot of the other tarot decks as well. But she's also Venus energy. She's reclining. She's not working so hard. She's kind of like chill and doing what she wants. And I feel like that's an energy that I feel like I want to get for you guys, because it feels like so many of you guys have just been over giving and overextending yourself and kind of putting yourself out in order to make other people happy. And I really feel like that's an energy that your guides kind of want to put a stop to. Let me get some of these cards for you. Pile number 2. What cards are we going to get for pile 2 for surprises happening for them? Okay, we got 2 cards. Archangel Raziel, wisdom, inspiration, Akashic records, up from the depths, releasing difficulty. Yeah, it feels like there's something that just needs to be said, and it's almost like long overdue. Freedom, moving on, letting go. Divine presence, the life force of love and creation. And let's get one more. This one is letting go of urgency, surrender, freedom from time constraints. Yeah. Because there is that message that I'm getting, that what is for you will always be for you. So sometimes when we are so focused on time, we really think we're really coming from that place of a scarcity mindset. And I feel like what's coming through for you is, if there's something that worries you, where you feel like you have to do so much in order to get it, whether it's about time, whether it's about, oh my God, it has to happen right now, or just an energy of like, I have to do all this in order to get it. Whatever that is, whatever energy that is for you, it definitely is from a scarcity mindset place, and almost a feeling of not being good enough and needing, like I said, to overextend yourself, needing to do so much in order to deserve this, in order to make it happen. And I think one thing that's really coming through is realizing that whatever is for you is going to be for you. It's always going to be for you. And maybe you don't need to do that much. Maybe you can actually just relax, be in your own energy, chill, and allow that to flow to you. And sometimes when we're twisting ourselves into pretzels to make a situation work, when we're really kind of stepping out of our energy to try to somehow force this into happening, or it's got to happen, and we get kind of hyper fixated on one outcome in particular, that's again taking us out of our empowered energy. Empowered energy is realizing that there's endless abundance to the universe and that we can have whatever we want. And so we don't need to stay focused or fixated on one outcome in particular, because the universe has so many different options for us. So if this isn't going to work out, I guarantee something else will work out. If this is meant to be, it will happen no matter what. I mean, there are stories in, the news or whatever on social media about people who are high school sweethearts and then they get married again at like 80 years old, So again, the universe doesn't even think about time. If something is meant to happen for us, it will happen. And if it's not meant to happen, it won't happen. So with that being said, of course, we should always do our best at everything. We should try hard. It's not that we should be like lazy, but we also don't need to be obsessed with like one situation and why isn't it working or something like that. Hey guys, sorry I got interrupted. My storage was full, but anyway, I think we fixed it now. But what I had been saying was, I think sometimes that's what it really comes down to whenever we are overextending ourselves, trying to make something work, trying to twist ourselves into a pretzel. What it comes down to is this idea that the universe doesn't have enough, and if I don't work as hard as I can, if I don't twist this into place and force it into place, then it's not going to work out. And the thing is that the universe has things that are absolutely perfect for us and will fit and will glide into place, and it won't take expert effort, and it will feel easy, and it will feel like a flow, and it will feel like just resonance. I mean, we've all had times, right, when we've randomly met someone, or we made a friend, or we got a job, and instead of it having to be this like intensely arduous process, it just flowed. And I'm not saying by that just, hey, like, don't put any effort into anything. And if you need a job, just wait for someone to randomly call you and don't apply on LinkedIn. And if you are single and you want to date, then don't ever get on a dating app and just stay at home all the time. Of course, we need to put a little bit of effort out. We need to put a little bit of flow out into the universe to allow things to come in. We need to like continuously put ourselves in those situations. But what I'm talking about is like, I need to make it work with this one person. So even though it's a constant frustration, and even though it doesn't feel like it's flowing, and even though I get anxiety every time I talk to them, and even though I can never see them, and it feels like they're constantly busy and they can never see me, and the universe is conspiring against us, I'm still fixated on this one person. That's sometimes the universe's way of just saying, no, this isn't going to work, or no, it's time to move on. I have something much better for you. And wouldn't you rather like know that? Wouldn't you rather wait and hold out for that thing that's going to resonate with you so much more than to try to fix it and make it work with something that's like broken and not working? Like, it's kind of like, if you were trying to put together a puzzle and you found a puzzle piece that didn't fit in easily, you would just take that puzzle piece out and be like, oh yeah, this doesn't fit here. Okay, let me find the puzzle piece that does. And you wouldn't even give it a second thought. You definitely wouldn't like shave off the side of the puzzle and then try to like fix it and jam it into place and like maybe cut that extra part that jutted out off and then glue it down lower so that it'll fit in. You would just be like, oh, this isn't the right puzzle piece. Okay, let me get the right one. And honestly, I wish we could have that attitude for our life, because so much of the time you'll see someone trying to force something, whether it's a job, whether it's a career thing, whether it's a person, whatever it is, trying to force something into place. And I feel like for you, this could be about letting go of something from your past or releasing something that has just been difficult. This card is really sticking out to me. Releasing difficulty, because when something is difficult, sometimes that's your sign. That's all you need to know. I think it's funny, sometimes someone will say like, oh, it was meant to be with this person, or I had such a connection with them, but it was crazy because, as soon as we met, we had a couple great weeks, but then they got transferred to a different office, and, then I was really busy and I couldn't see them, and all that stuff is legitimate and valid, and maybe it was an amazing connection, and maybe it was really special, and it's not taking away from whatever it was, the energy of what it was, which may have been freaking amazing, and maybe there was so much potential for love or whatever. But that's also the universe's way of telling us no. It doesn't have to be someone breaking up with you and looking you in the eye and telling you, I don't want to be with you anymore. That doesn't have to be the final moment. Sometimes the universe will just be like, oh yeah, this, maybe it does seem amazing, but this is not, I have something way better for you. And that's the universe's way of blocking things. Because I know for me, like whenever I've had those kind of like missed opportunities, like, oh, it could have worked. Like if this had been slightly different, or if that had been different, or if the timing had been, a little adjusted, this could have worked. And those situations can be super heartbreaking because it's almost easier when someone looks you in the eye and tells you like, well, I hate you. Then you can move on from that. But this idea of like, oh, it could have been, wow, like if this had just been different, or this felt so special, but it wasn't quite there. But my point is that difficulty, or things that just don't flow so easily, things that just always have problems, that's also a sign from the universe. And also things that are easy and just seem to flow into place, and it just kind of makes sense, and it's just like, oh, this kind of just happened. That's also the universe's way of aligning you with something. That's the universe's way of teaching you. I know when spirit is giving me messages, because it just comes across like red light, green light. Like sometimes you want all these answers, you want to know exactly the details, but I'll know something is for me when it just constantly resonates with the energy of ease. Like it doesn't stress me out. Of course, there's some level of stress to anything we're doing, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship, there's always going to be stress. But it's almost like I don't have to fight. So I don't have to like twist this into place. I don't need to force it. It doesn't ever feel like it's off, or oh my God, I have a pit of anxiety about this. It feels like I kind of feel safe. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like, yeah, this makes sense. And whenever that isn't in place, for me at least, it usually doesn't work out. I feel like everything in life that for me that has worked out has always just felt easy. When I can think of like my best friend that I've known since I was like 18, that relationship has always been easy, and we have had fights. We have had falling outs. We have like not talked, but at the end of the day, it was like we'd always just fall back into our friendship. And no matter what happened or how much time had passed, if we talked on the phone, it was like easy. It was like back again. And it always just kind of made sense. It just wasn't so much effort. Sometimes it would be effort in terms of like, I guess, having a fight and then navigating that, having an argument. But for the most part, it just felt like I don't even really have to try with this person. Like it's just flowing, and I feel like for you guys, again, there's your sign that if there is something that you feel like you have to push yourself so much in order to make it work, in order to make this happen, then that's your sign that this is not for you. So you may be being surprised by something being removed from your life, or something being cut out. And almost, again, I think you learning that like if it's requiring this much of you, compromising yourself and pushing yourself and doing so much, that already may be your message that it's not for you. Let's get some more cards for you. Pile number 3. What is pile number 3 going to be surprised by in the near future? So we got the Page of Wands. Okay, so we got the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands. The Nine of Cups, the Hierophant, Swords, the Four of Swords. I don't know why, I just read the suit. The Four of Swords and the Chariot card. Yeah, and I love the Chariot because it shows, I think there's such deep messages in obviously all the major arcana, but in the Chariot card for me, because it really shows that deliberate action and like making that choice. I think, again, there's been times in my life when I have been upset, I'm not gonna lie, over a misconnection or something that it's almost like, oh, if it hadn't been for that, XYZ would have worked out. If it hadn't been for this small detail, I would have gotten that job. Or if it hadn't been for this person's schedule, I know we could have worked out. Or if it hadn't been for my schedule, I know we could have worked out. Or if it hadn't been for that miscommunication, that text that I thought went through and it randomly didn't, and they didn't know that I had said, yeah, let's meet up. And then, that happened to me once. Literally, I was supposed to go on a date with someone, and I had sent them, like, they were like, so are we still on? And I had sent them a text saying, yes, we're still on. And then the text did not go through. And I didn't realize that until I was like in the Uber on the way to the date. And then I was like, I texted them like, oh my gosh, wait, I just saw you texted me. And anyway, afterwards, I was kind of annoyed, like that everything had gone down like that. Like I was like, oh my gosh, we were supposed to meet and they had made other plans. And I was like, well, okay, so this was a waste of my time. But if you think about it, probably Spirit did that on purpose. And probably Spirit wasted me or saved me from wasting more time or more energy or what could have been a really horrible date or a horrible connection or a horrible time, whatever would have happened with that. And my frustration about like, oh my God, the text didn't go through was probably saving me from something even worse. And so my point is sometimes, that feeling of like, oh, if that had just been different, but it wasn't different. And sometimes that's all you need to know, that the mistiming, the miscommunication, this person wasn't ready, oh, it could have been amazing, but it didn't work out. Well, yeah, and it didn't work out. So that means Spirit has something better. And reframing it from like this idea that we get trapped into with this scarcity mindset of like, oh my God, it has to be this person. Why does it have to be that person? Or why does it have to be that job? Why can't it be another job that you don't even know about yet? You haven't even experienced that yet, and it might be so much better. I mentioned this in another reading, I think pile 2 or another pile, but I had never had mango sticky rice, and I finally tried it recently, and I know everyone is probably gonna be like, how have you not tried mango sticky rice? Like, it's such a famous dessert, but I just never tried it. I'd seen it on the menu, but I am like a chocolate, vanilla, caramel, like peanut butter type person. Like if I see, any dessert that has chocolate in it, I'm gonna order that 9 times out of 10, period, no questions asked, or a vanilla, or I always feel like if I'm eating dessert, I'm going all the way. I'm not getting like the rhubarb, the rhubarb ice cream or something, or like a peach ice cream. I mean, anything like that, like any fruit flavor, I'm just like, no, thanks. Well, let's do the real thing. Let's bring the chocolate. Let's get the caramel going. Let's get the peanut butter. So for me, that was why I had never tried mango sticky rice. But recently I was out to dinner and the person was like, yeah, let's get the mango sticky rice. It's so good. And kept telling me, it's really good. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Like, whatever, I'll try it, because I'm not a fruit dessert person, but I didn't want to be negative. And I'm like, okay, sure. And it was so good. And now I'm like addicted and I'm having it like every day. And that's the thing, is I would never have known that. And sometimes Spirit has something so much better for you, like a mango sticky rice person, that equivalent in a person. And you're sitting over here so obsessed with like the, dried out crusty brownie that you were fixated on for some reason, not realizing like the mango sticky rice is right over here. I know that's a weird metaphor, but that's my point, is sometimes we don't even realize how much better what Spirit has for us is. We keep staying focused on the past. We keep staying focused on something that wasn't meant to be. And really, I feel like one of the biggest things with manifestation or creating the kind of life that's a really beautiful life is just being willing to release the past and let go of the old, to bring in the new. Sometimes we stay so focused on just like trying to build something new. But if you think about it, it's like if you had the most beautiful kitchen in the world, but you never took out the trash, if you just let it pile up on the side of the room. I mean, that happens on the show Hoarders. That's probably why I love that show, Hoarding Buried Alive, is because it shows what happens when you don't release. It shows what happens when you're one of those people that even might have a beautiful energy of like, oh my God, this beautiful item, and you have this appreciation for it. But if you're not willing to release when that energy is done, then you end up living in a hell home that's full of trash piled up to the ceiling. And that's the thing, is sometimes in our life, it's not to call another person trash, although maybe they might be. I don't know them, whatever. You can call them trash if they are. But the thing is regardless, if they're no longer serving our purposes, then for our life and our intents and purposes, to us, they're trash. It's like, it may be a beautiful cardboard box that works perfectly well, and I could probably do an arts and crafts project and turn it into like a mini castle or something like that. But for me, if it's an old Amazon box, I'm throwing it away. It might still be functional, but I don't need it anymore. So it's got to go. And sometimes we have to have that energy with our life as well, instead of saying, so obsessed with why something didn't work out, trying to figure it out, trying to get in our head, trying to fixate on how did it not work or why didn't it work or whatever. This is just about allowing it to flow and allowing it to leave our life and allowing whatever else is new to come in. Because the thing is that the universe abhors a vacuum, if I can actually speak. The universe abhors a vacuum, meaning if there's any absence or lack or a little hole or gap in our life, trust and believe Spirit will fill that. And we'll fill it with something absolutely amazing. So I don't know what kind of message you guys needed with this, but what I'm getting is it's almost like you're releasing this need or this scarcity mindset or this being obsessed with one outcome and realizing that you have so many different options. So why stay fixated on the past? Why stay fixated on something that didn't work out? If it was meant to work out, it would. If it's meant to work out in the future, it will. And whatever is meant to be yours will always be yours. So there's no need to stress. And I think you guys are going to be surprised by how good it feels when you do release and when you do allow whatever needs to flow out to flow on out of your life. So that is what I have for you, pile number 3. I really hope that resonates. If it does, I would love to know. I love hearing from you guys, and I'd love to know your thoughts. So let me know down in the comments how it resonated for you. Also, if you guys would like to see more of my tarot, head on over to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading all about what people fantasize about you, and before that, a reading all about what makes you sexy. So those are 2 fun, spicy readings. And there's also a reading all about spirituality, and the topic is what you're carrying with you from past lifetimes. So it's kind of like karma, past life, south node type energy for a reading. But there are over 85 exclusive readings you'll only get access to on Patreon. There's love readings, career readings, money readings, spirituality readings, so many different topics, over 85 exclusive readings. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So you get to see them first, pretty far in advance, and get to watch them before everyone else does. And you also get to vote and suggest on new topics for the Patreon. So if that sounds good to you and you're interested in signing up, then head on over to my Patreon. The link is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description, and I would love to see you there. Also, if you're interested in booking a session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, whether you want a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, whether you want me to pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, or do a little combination of all 3, whether you want it to be a pre-recorded reading or a live one-on-one session, you get to really customize and choose what will work the best for you. So if that sounds good and you want to book a slot with me, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye.